From the Homestead Studios in Santa Clarita, California, this is a Headache Soul production. Welcome to Just the Tip-Sters, America's favorite true crime podcast, and I'm your host, Melissa Morgan. This is a small episode because we didn't have a lot of information. We'd tried to put it into another episode and it just didn't fit, and I wanted it to have its own separate recording because Gina's story is important. Her sister, Michelle, is the voice that is trying to help get her sister's case solved. It's been a long time since this happened, and it just feels so weird that it couldn't be solved, that it hasn't been solved. Her sister, Michelle, is an amazing advocate for her, and Gina Tovar'S story is a terrible one. 27 years old, and ends up in the back of a U-Haul in a terrible way. And her sister finds out that her beloved sister is murdered on her own birthday, July 18th of 1997. So that is why we wanted this to have a separate recording, because there isn't a lot on Gina's case, but there's still some really good information. And I'm really hoping that someone within the sound of my voice knows something, heard something, feels something about this case, because it just seems like Gina's case should be able to be solved. I believe I gave this number at the end of talking about Gina's story, but in case I didn't, please contact the San Antonio Police Department Homicide Unit at 210-207-7635. And here is Gina Tovar'S story. This one is, I was shocked at the little amount of information. It was July 18th of 1997 when this happened. And I will tell you, the lack of evidence bothers me greatly, because in 1997, you would think things would be a little easier to collect certain things.
Mm-hmm.
I understand we live in a world now where an electronic footprint is remarkably helpful.
Absolutely.
And I don't know, you want to say 90% of cases,
Sure.
I mean, it's not just fingerprints and blood, but, DNA from the blood that narrows it down to, it could not be anyone else, or it could only be a scintilla of, 80 billion people,
Right.
So this was shocking to me. And it's San Antonio, Texas, which you would think, if anyone has a really amazing, crime fighting group of people with the Texas Rangers, and you would think it'd be Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I would just think, I'm just sort of disappointed in this. But so July 18th of 1997, a security guard at the Alamo Downs business complex, kind of a strip mall in San Antonio, Texas, noticed a U-Haul van in the parking lot. And when he got closer, he saw a bloody foot sticking out from a pile of clothes on the vehicle's floorboard. Yep. It turns out it was 28-year-old Gina Marie Tovar. And her sister, Michelle Valdez Lewis, is the person who is really asking for our help.
Okay.
And this family deserves this. 1997.
Oh, wow.
And you're going to hear something, and I know you're going to have the same questions I did, because I just kind of can't believe this. Michelle said she had been stabbed several times, and it was then found out that she was stabbed 27 times.
Oh, wow.
Her throat was slashed twice, almost decapitating her.
Oh, my gosh.
Right. The U-Haul was found around 1 a.m. on July 18th at a Phillips gas station, and the parking lot of the Alamo Downs business complex is like close to, probably butting up against the Phillips gas station.
Okay.
The U-Haul was left at Alamo Downs between 2:20 and 3, but no witnesses have come forward with information regarding Gina's murder. This is the part that bothers me, and I feel like it's just left way up in the air. A motive has not been established, but police have said drugs may have been involved. Since they're not releasing a whole lot, I don't know what that means, but I have questions, many, many questions. I don't know if there was something around her or on her that, or maybe a toxicology report that would lead them to say that. To release something that ambiguous, it feels like they're trying to say that Gina lived a compromised life. I don't know that that's true. I don't know enough about her.
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe they think that maybe she was, trading sex for drugs or was a drug addict. I can see your brain. I love it so much. I know you're going to ask the same questions I'm asking, but
No, I'm waiting.
I know, and I appreciate it. So a really beautiful account of this story is covered in medium.com. And I always forget the author's name. Her first name is Kat. I think it's Lee, actually Lee, Leigh. I love this woman. She handles true crime for medium.com and a lot of other journalistic outlets. And she has a beautiful way of writing. So in her article, she said that Michelle said, Gina loved gatherings with our friends and family, especially loved barbecues. She was kind and thoughtful, and we don't have any new updates on the case.
Wow.
So this is why she's reaching out and why we're trying to talk about it. I'm going to keep looking, is what Michelle says. I'm going to keep bugging the police department. I'm just not going to give up until we find some kind of closure and we can set this aside and have some peace and put this behind us. And she knows that that's not ever going to happen.
Yeah.
She won't be able to set it aside, but getting some sort of, closure. So here's the things I know are going to make you have even more questions. So it's being handled right now by the San Antonio Police Department Cold Case Department, and a fingerprint and some DNA was left at the scene. And I know I can hear the question in your brain. I can hear it. So, who the fuck was the U-Haul rented or registered to?
Well, yeah, that was the first question.
I could see it in your brain. It was like it was telegraphed on your forehead. I don't know.
Okay.
I know Michelle has answered the question. We don't know. They don't. I don't know how in 1997. You don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you have to register it. You have to throw down a credit card or,
and
you
a
have
license.
to have,
And the names have to match.
Yeah, maybe it was.
Maybe you could pay cash. I didn't think about that. Like you can't pay cash for a rental car. I think you have to have a credit card and you have to be 25, don't you?
But I don't know. You've got to have some sort of collateral in order to rent an entire vehicle. They're not going to want to put it out without the collateral that they're going to get it back.
Right.
So
good point.
I think that's why they attach it to a credit card.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Like you can rent a hotel room with cash anonymously.
Because you probably can't destroy it.
Yeah.
But they hold a credit card just in case. And then when you check out, they don't have to charge a credit card. You can pay cash. You're exactly right. Yeah, it's attached to a building. It's not a separate vehicle. You can drive across state lines.
And then drive
forever.
Drive into a
right.
Yeah.
So Gina was spotted about 1 a.m. at the gas station. And then, sometime between 2:30 and 3, she's found.
Okay. She was on foot at the gas station?
Right. I think probably on video.
She didn't have a vehicle there?
No.
Okay.
Questions like, who rents a vehicle with clothing in it and you can't, maybe the DNA is on the clothing and you can't find out who it belongs to? Is it someone actually moving and they kill a woman and then abandon a U-Haul? Unless they know there will be no ties to them?
Yeah, I don't.
Stabbed 27 times and your throat cut seems rather personal for a drug interaction or, over money or sex or something.
That does
feels
sound
personal.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of emotion is attached to that, not just a robbery or something.
Right. Yeah. Right. I didn't even think about that. Like maybe she was handling drugs or something.
Handling drugs and taking it or whatever. But 27 times seems. If you were just robbing somebody, you stab them 1 or 2
and you get the fuck out. Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point too. Could there have been a second driver, like a getaway person?
Sure.
Because if that's the vehicle you're using, you now don't have a vehicle.
Right.
I mean, these questions, and apparently Michelle doesn't have answers. And here we are, 25
years later. Wow.
If they're saying that they feel like drugs may be involved. I guess you can't release everything. I get it. It goes back to, do we need to know everything? But what is there to back that up? What is there to back up that theory?
Yeah. And is it, well, now my questions have to do with, are they putting out some sort of misinformation?
Oh,
Is there
a trap?
Is there something else happening here that that they're just trying to make this girl look nefarious in some way and make people forget about her?
Oh, interesting.
Make people not care that 25 years later this thing hasn't been solved because
maybe it was drugs. I hadn't thought about that. I hadn't thought about a smear campaign. I thought I did say at the beginning, I thought they might be thinking that she lived a compromised lifestyle, which a large percentage of people who are murdered live a compromised lifestyle in some way or another. But that's not a gang shooting, or I don't think it's a message from a gang. Like maybe she owes us money, so we're going to stab her 27 times and slit her throat twice, almost cutting her head off. That doesn't feel gangy. They shoot people and get the fuck out.
Yeah.
It's not a stabbing thing.
Wow.
I mean, I remember, wasn't that defense supposed to be used for O.J. Simpson? What was it called? The Sicilian necktie? Something like that, or mafia necktie, where you like almost cut someone's head off. Yeah, we're talking about like the 1920s. It's not like, I mean, good job, Dream Team, for bringing that up. But, I don't think sweet Gina Tovar is, a major drug handler.
There's too many questions.
There is.
How do you not follow these obvious things?
Or
go to the U-Haul and check the registry.
Well, I think they did, but I don't know how it leads to a dead end.
Yeah.
I don't know how you say we don't have any information that conclusively leads to one person. I had not thought like what you said. Maybe they're releasing things. In my mind, it was in the opposite direction, like trying to release information that might spur someone to say,
okay.
That might be what happened.
No, that makes sense.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Not that they were trying to smear her, but that they were, drugs could have been involved. And it'd be like, oh, I remember Gina.
Oh, yeah.
I met her at Bob's house.
Yeah.
Bob is an asshole.
Right.
Something like that.
Right.
I mean, that's what I was thinking. But I mean, it feels so overwhelmingly odd and weird. Like she doesn't have any people in her life who wanted to end her life. Here's this, sweet young woman who loves family, wants to spend her time with them, ends up brutally murdered in the back of a U-Haul and covered by clothing. Her bloody foot is sticking out.
Wow.
I mean, very few people on earth deserve that, and only if they've tried to kill you first. But I'm pretty sure Gina Tovar didn't deserve that.
No.
And I have to say, it's a mixed bag for me with Texas. I've had a couple of really great police departments who have been very forthcoming to me. And I've had some that just put down an iron gate and I do not exist. And I get it. They don't have to talk to me at all.
Sure.
The ones that have, I've been really grateful.
Yeah.
A lot of them say the same thing. Oh, that's still an open case. Well, it is because you haven't solved it. Could I fucking help in some way? Thanks, fucker. It's going to be open as long as you don't tell any of this what's going on.
Not doing your job.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that. I would say not letting some people know what the fuck. I feel like sometimes any little detail might jog someone's memory.
Yeah.
They might, think of something, come up with something. I know that area. I remember something. I know her. I knew people who knew her. It wasn't drugs. It was X,
Sure.
Something. So if you have any information on the death of Gina Tovar, any information about her, please contact the San Antonio PD Homicide Unit at 210-207-7635. If you have a tip on a missing person or an unsolved homicide, or you just want to suggest a case, please give us a call at 832-TIPSTER. That's 832-847-7837. You can always email us at jttipsters@gmail.com. You can find us on any of the social media platforms, just the Tipsters Facebook page, at JT Tipsters on Instagram, at JT Tipsters Pod on Twitter, and more cowbell.
If you would like to support this podcast and get early access and other cool murderous swag, go to patreon.com/justthetipsters.